This scene from season 6 of Cobra Kai is trash. It may not be for the reason you think. The problem is, this scene completely destroys any hope for Johnny's character. Now, I'm not saying Johnny can't show emotion. Johnny has been showing emotion since season 1, even since Karate Kid. Let's review what's happening here, and then I'll tell you what the problem is. So, Johnny is saying that he will never forgive Kreese for what he did, which basically is abandoning him, okay? And yes, I'm not denying that Kreese abandoning Johnny can cause all sorts of trauma for Johnny and affect his life in multiple ways. But there's something Johnny's forgetting. Kreese is not Johnny's parent. Now, maybe Kreese has been acting kind of as a surrogate father, but the main person that Johnny should be angry at is his father that abandoned him. He can also be angry at Sid as well, but his father's the one that abandoned him. Kreese owns a karate business, and Johnny is a customer. That's essentially it. Yes, I'm all for Kreese mentoring kids, but Kreese is under no obligation to act as a father figure for Johnny. Imagine you're going to high school. Maybe you had a teacher that was a mentor to you, but after you graduated from that school, you may not have kept in contact with that teacher. It's perfectly normal to not be in contact with your high school teacher. Well, Kreese is a teacher. Johnny is a student. Kreese is under no obligation to raise Johnny. Now, at this point, when Johnny says that Kreese abandoned him, he's almost about to graduate high school soon. How long is a karate teacher, how long is a sensei supposed to stay in a student's life? This is not Kreese's responsibility. Johnny should be grateful for all the mentoring and all the love that Kreese did give him. But as I said, it's not Kreese's responsibility to be his replacement father. It kind of sucks for Johnny. Like I said, it's not his responsibility, but it's kind of messed up that he only did it because he lost the All Valley tournament. But here's the problem. Johnny is saying he'll never forgive Kreese, and he's crying about what happened over 30 years ago. But what Johnny did to his son is 10 times worse, maybe more, than what Kreese did to him. He says he failed his son on day 1. Yes, and he says that he didn't go to the hospital when Robbie was born. He also said he's been failing him ever since. He's been drunk lots of times. He's not really in Robbie's life. So Johnny abandoned Robbie since he was born. Since he was older, Johnny tried to be more into Robbie's life. But he did technically abandon Robbie when he was little. Johnny was almost an adult when Kreese abandoned him. He's not playing an active role as father in Robbie's life. So essentially he abandoned him. So eventually, Robbie does forgive Johnny. Now, at that point, you would think a rational person would understand all the things he did to mess up Robbie's life, which is a lot. And he would understand that if Robbie can forgive him for what he did to him, he should definitely forgive Kreese. Because what Kreese did, first of all, like I said, Johnny is not Kreese's responsibility. But Robbie is Johnny's responsibility. And he just left that responsibility. That's already, number 1, is way worse than what Kreese did. Johnny's life, yes, he may have had a tough stepdad, but his life was pretty comfortable for the most part. I mean, in Karate Kid, he seems to have a nice car. I don't recall him having a specific part-time job to pay for that car. He just has a car. Alright? He has a lot of friends. He's living a pretty good life. Robbie, on the other hand, is living in an apartment with no electricity sometimes, and living a life of crime with a gang of thieves. It's so bad that people are recognizing Robbie when he goes places as a thief. And the only reason why Robbie stopped that lifestyle is because he met Daniel and the other LaRussos. If that didn't happen, he would have probably continued down the same path. And even after he started trying to break the cycle, Robbie had so much pent-up anger, he almost killed Miguel. It was basically a miracle that Miguel didn't die and that he was able to walk again. Robbie could have spent his life behind bars. I mean, his life was already pretty bad before he went to juvie. And then if he spends his whole life in prison, his life was already on track to be way worse than Johnny's. And Johnny kept just asking him for forgiveness, and Robbie eventually did forgive him. Robbie let go of all the hate, of all the anger, and forgave Johnny. But for some reason, even though that was a while ago, that was like 1 or 2 seasons ago, Johnny still can't put 2 and 2 together and understand that, yes, Johnny abandoned Robbie because he had a lot of issues going on in his life. So Johnny has no empathy to understand that maybe Kreese was going through things, maybe Kreese was traumatized, and that's why he acts the way he acts. How does Johnny not... I thought at this point, at the end of the series, Johnny would have some more character growth and be more understanding about other people and situations, not still holding a grudge for Kreese, even though Johnny has done way worse than what Kreese did. Robbie has to deal with his drug-addicted mother, who has to go to rehab. His mother brings home boyfriends that make out in front of Robbie and do who knows what else. Johnny has no self-awareness still. Basically, at the end of the 6th season, it seems like Johnny, you would think Johnny would be somewhat more understanding, somewhat more mature, but after all this time, he's acting like a child. Now, when I say he's acting like a child, I'm not saying he can't cry. I'm not saying he can't be upset. What I'm saying is, he has no right to stand there and tell Kreese he's never going to forgive him because he abandoned him, while what he did to Robbie is way worse. Johnny has no right to complain about what Kreese did because of what he did to Robbie. I'm not saying it wouldn't hurt, I'm not saying it wouldn't traumatize him, but at this point, he's already a father of basically an adult at this point. He's blaming Kreese for still the bad choices that Johnny made. Yes, Kreese abandoned him. Kreese, like I said, Kreese is not his father. Johnny abandoned his son like his father did. The issue is with Johnny's father. The issue is not with Kreese. Kreese is just a scapegoat. You would think Johnny would finally realize that. Johnny is acting like an entitled brat at this point. He has no appreciation for the time and the mentoring. Kreese had no obligation to do anything for Johnny. But he did essentially out of the kindness of his heart. Yes, I know Kreese is the bad guy, but he still was a kind of a father figure to a kid that didn't have a father. He didn't have to do that. He's not obligated to continue doing that for the rest of Johnny's life. You think Johnny, at the age he is, he has a teenage son, he has another baby on the way, he needs to get his life in order. He's still blaming Kreese for his problems, then he's not really addressing his issues. All the issues that happened later in life are Johnny's choices. Yes, it might have been influenced by what Kreese did, but at the end of the day, those are still Johnny's choices. Johnny made bad choices. He knew what was right and wrong. He still chose wrong because he was being selfish. Now he's being immature, very immature, just when it comes to forgiving Kreese.